Hello and welcome to this new workshop. In this workshop I'm going to demonstrate how to knit this scrap yarn scarf with your circular knitting machine. What do we need? We need yarn, of course, and a circular knitting machine. You can also use the small one, but then your scarf is not that wide. We need a lot of stitch markers and of course our yarn needle and a pair of scissors. And that's it. So let's start. I'm going to cast on 40 stitches, but you can cast on whatever amount of stitches you want. I'm going to cast on with scrap yarn over 39 stitches, and then I'm going to take another piece of scrap yarn and I'm going to knit 40 stitches with it. Don't forget to knit the last stitch. And then I'm going to start with my black yarn and I'm going to knit 40 stitches for 6 rows or maybe 8 rows. You can use every amount of rows you like. It's not a real pattern. You can variate with all the numbers. So, and when I have knitted my base, I'm going to divide my work. I cut off my black yarn and I'm going to start with the first panel. So I pick up my scrap piece of yarn and I'm going to knit with that 10 stitches. I'm making 4 panels of 10 stitches. So I make sure that the 10th needle has the yarn under the hook. And then I take my yarn out of the feeder and put it into the middle. And I continue cranking and I'm going to pick up all the rest of the stitches, except the one I just knitted. Close every stitch marker because you don't want to lose them. I'm picking up the stitches per 10 with just one color. Then I don't have to count that much anymore. And when I have secured all those stitches, you can see where the panels are going to be. But first I have to crank back to the start position of the panel I'm currently knitting. So I'm making sure that everything is in place. I already knitted 1 row and I want to knit 20 rows, so I will continue with the second one. And the panel is just 10 stitches wide. If you don't know how to knit flat panel, check the description of this video and you will find a link to my easy peasy flat panel workshop. It seems like a lot of work, this pattern, but it knits really fast. And you have a very special project. I'm done with my 20 rounds. So now I'm going to crank further and pick up all the stitches. And then my work is completely off the machine. And my first panel is knitted. And now I'm going to find the next 10 stitches and I'm going to put that on the needle. So I find my first stitch from the right to the left and hook it on the first needle. Just under the hook and crank further and make sure that the yarn is under the hook and the marker is on the inside of the machine. And pick up the stitches you would like to knit a panel with. You can play with every amount of stitches, height, width. And when I have picked up all the stitches, I crank one round and put in my working yarn for the next panel. And I'm going to knit my 20 rows with the next color. Two panels knitted, so I'm going to pick up the third part just by hooking every stitch under the needle. When all the stitches are on the needles, I crank one round and start knitting with my third color. And I'm doing exactly the same as I did before, knitting 20 rounds and then securing all the stitches. And then I'm going to knit the last panel. So this was my third panel. Adjusting tension is at the end. I'm taking out a few stitch markers because I don't have that much stitch markers. And I'm going to knit the 4th panel of my project. So I'm going to pick up the stitches. And then crank 1 round and start knitting my 4th panel with my 4th color. And when you're finished with your 4th panel, do not take it off the machine. I'm going to show you what we are going to do then. But keep it on the machine when finished. I'm done. I'm cutting my yarn, but I'm not taking it off the machine. I'm going to put back my panels. So I'm just going from the left to the right, hooking all the stitches of the next panel under the hook and continue doing that with all the panels until all stitches are on the hook. Don't skip stitches. Make sure you pick up all the stitches per panel. And when your last stitch is completely sunk, you make sure that you're in the right position to cast on your black yarn again, and then start knitting all the panels together. Do it slow and watch careful. When you make a mistake, no problem, just take it off the machine. Every stitch is secured, so you can start over. I'm going to knit 6 rows in between. And then you continue where we started with knitting panels again. And you continue doing that until your scarf is long enough. And then you can take it off the machine the way you like to cast off. So you continue or you cast off when you are finished. And now I'm going to show you what it's looking like when you took it off the machine. Off the machine I have to secure all the ends, and you can adjust tension just by pulling on the yarn. And then you secure your yarn with a knot and tuck it away. So finishing off is a simple and easy job. You can do watching telly or whatever. You can also take your work off the machine and put it back when you have more scraps. So when you like this video, please give me a thumb up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more in the future. With love from Holland. Bye bye.